Welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Kay Cote, and I am your podcast host for today's episode. And today on the show, we have Jake Hay, co-founder of PopShorts, joining me. And we're going to be diving into his business, his journey to working in this business, as well as give you some tips that he's learned along the way when it comes to growing a business to give you that insider scoop to what it's really like to operate a business. If this is your first time on our channel, be sure to like and subscribe to get notifications when we drop episodes like this. Welcome, Jake. It is so great to meet you. Thanks for being on the show.
Hey, Kay Cote and JK, I feel like we're doing something here. We're off to like a really good start of something special that's going to build out of this.
I think so too. Maybe there'll have to be a round two or three with some podcasts down the road.
I love it.
Well, let's dive in, Jake. Thanks again for being here. I want to learn about you. Can you share a bit about yourself?
Sure. So, JK, we launched our business in Newport Beach, California, which is still where our head office is. I moved to Austin, Texas, hookup, in 2021. Now, our business is fairly unique in that we are a managed service influencer marketing agency. What that means is brands come to us, they have a budget, they have an objective usually, and we do the rest, completely hands off for them. So from identifying creators, contracting them, coming up with a social strategy, running the campaign, and then reporting, we do all of it. We've been doing it since 2013. So relative to our industry, we're kind of OG as far as that's concerned. And that's kind of a good elevator pitch on where I am and how I got here.
That is an incredible elevator pitch. I'm very excited to dive into this because it speaks near and dear to my heart, as well as I'm sure many other business owners who could either learn from your services or utilize your services. And so, tell me a bit about your why. Kind of why did you get into this business? What inspired you?
Yeah, the timing was it for me, right? So like thinking back to my days of doing PR prior to getting into this advertising industry, which they sound similar, but and they are adjacent, but they are inherently different. Timeliness is one of the key points of newsworthiness. And for me, coming out of college, there's a couple gentlemen who had already launched the agency, but it was very early days. And my why was, well, there's more truth to this than necessary, but my why was nobody else gave me a job. I was forced into entrepreneurship, which I actually think drives a special type of entrepreneur, right? I didn't get out of college and immediately say, I can't wait to start my own business with no experience. I wanted to go learn from others before I did. I had 4 internships in 3 years of college, and I couldn't get that job out of college. And so I heard about this idea. These gentlemen were starting an agency in Newport Beach, and I met up with them a few times. Really liked what they were doing, and I basically insisted that they hire me. Well, at the time they're like, well, "We have no money. You can't really hire you. It's not going to work that way." So I did some part-time contracting, and then actually at South by Southwest 2016, um, I went out on behalf of the agency. Ended up bringing back an account, and they said, "Wait a second, we see that you can kind of do this. What if you took over our sales?" And so I've been running the business development for the agency ever since.
Oh, this is incredible. I love your story because that's something I haven't heard before. And yet, I kind of feel like some entrepreneurs do fall into entrepreneurship that way. So tell me more about kind of like if I were, say, your ideal client, your brand, um, how would I know I was your ideal client? If I like ran across your website, walked through your doors, how would I know I'd be the right fit for you?
Yeah, so our ideal clients, like we sell influencer marketing as a media buy, meaning generally speaking, we work with Fortune 500 agencies, or excuse me, Fortune 500 clients via their media agencies. So in the case of, let's say, Disney, Disney has a million different lines of business, of course, but we manage a few of them, and from the influencer perspective. And that being said, very rarely are we ever actually contracting directly with Disney. It's more about contracting through the media agency who represents their advertising spends. And that's true for the majority of our clients. Now, that being said, from an influencer marketing perspective, how do you know if influencer marketing is right for you? Just because Pop Shorts may or may not be a good fit for you doesn't mean influencer marketing may or may not be a good fit for you. There's a lot of different ways to approach the industry. I would say for influencer marketing, there's a few ways to put it in perspective. Do you have a product or service that you want top of funnel metrics for? Meaning, would it help your business to drive a lot of views, awareness, positive sentiment amongst online audiences? If the answer is yes, then influencer marketing is right for you, period. Now, a lot of earlier stage companies, medium to small enterprises. It's less about top of funnel. It's more about, hey, I spent 20 bucks. I need to see 40 come in, right? And it scales from there. That's where influencer marketing can still be valuable to you as a facet of your paid media strategy. But really what you need, if you're talking about hardworking media, you're talking about return on advertising spend, return on investment, what you need is a paid media strategy. Now, influencers create incredible content that can be used via paid media. But at the end of the day, it's the paid media optimization, using your meta ads, TikTok ads, etc., to drive those conversion events that's really going to move your business forward. At PopShorts, we do all of those things. We take influencer marketing, we turn it into paid media, and I think that's really important for businesses, but they also have to differentiate the influencer part from the paid media part and why they may or may not be allocating dollars to either side of it, depending on what their objectives are.
Hmm. That's really insightful because I think especially as we go into the future, this is going to only grow as a way to for brands to grow and utilize the media and especially their with like leveling up in their marketing. So taking it back a little bit, I'd love to learn where your team is at now. Since you started, what kind of team do you have right now? How many team members do you have? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so we've always been under 20. So I think, the way our business model works out, it's not really one that's like super scalable. It's not one that we felt would be worth taking on an outside investment for. It's just not that model. What it is an incredible lifestyle business for us. So we kind of have silos, three of them, if I was going to kind of look at the organizational structure of our business. There's one silo that works specifically on business development. That'd be the one I lead. Then there's a silo that looks at campaign management and creative strategy for social campaigns. And then there's another silo that looks specifically at talent. So keeping tabs on new talent, vetting creators for brand fit for a given campaign, contacting, contracting, all the things that come with it. So those are the three components that really move our agency. And of course, there's admin and other things that kind of every business has, but unique to us, that's how we're kind of structured organizationally.
That really is insightful too. I've never heard the structure before, so it really gives me a good context, especially also a golden nugget for our listeners at looking at setting something up like this for their business strategy and their team. Looking at some of the first things that y'all faced since starting, what is like one of the biggest challenges that you faced during those first few years? I know business owners have, many things they go through. What's something that stood out to you that you overcame?
I think our industry is unique in that it changes every day. So, for perspective, our first campaigns we ever ran were on Vine. If we weren't agile and nimble as entrepreneurs and an agency, we would have probably retired alongside Vine. Fast forward to today, obviously that's not true, and we're platform agnostic. Now, when I started, it also used to be the case that what we were doing was so new, kind of trendy, not a lot of people really fully understood it yet. I could walk into any conference and just say, "Oh, I do influencer marketing," and set all the meetings I needed that day. That's not the case anymore. The landscape's become far more competitive for us. So figuring out where we live, niching down was a big part of our strategy and figuring out how do we live in this environment, differentiate ourselves from other agencies that may or may not provide similar services to ours, was really important through that process. I guess that's my answer in short.
Oh, I want to dive in a little deeper. You said niching
Yeah.
down. So what do you mean by that?
So in influencer marketing, there's different ways you can play it, right? So PR agencies do influencer marketing. Usually they're looking at how to get earned media, as they always are, out of influencers, sending gift boxes, inviting them to events in exchange for post. You have affiliate companies that operate an influencer marketing landscape where they're exclusively trying to pay creators based on sales driven through links. You have SaaS platforms that live influencer marketing, wherein by which agencies like us or brands can log in and grab influencer data and contact info and stuff like that. We have positioned ourselves as a creative agency that provides a managed service in the space. And so when we talk about niching down, we're talking about how are we executing incredible award-winning strategies? That's at the forefront of everything we do, hence my background. So we're always thinking about what's going to move conversation forward, not only from the perspective of, hey, did this drive business results, but also did this drive social results? Is this something people are now talking about? Can we measure social listening? Can we measure these conversations and say we actually created sentiment within given communities or audiences based on what our clients' goals were? And that's how we think you move the meter in totality. Obviously, of course, you want to see revenue driven. I'm not ignoring those metrics, but there is more you can look at social. Social is a two-way street. So if you're just yelling at social all day, you're not listening, taking feedback, and repositioning your online presence as you go on a regular basis, then you're not really using social.
Mhm. Oh, that makes a lot of sense too. And it just gives you that again, where when you can niche down, it you can hyper focus on one area and go really deep on it rather than going like horizontally into multiple things. So that makes a lot of sense. You mentioned something earlier I want to touch on. You said you were a lifestyle business.
Mhm.
That can mean many things. So what do you define as a lifestyle business?
We just don't, we're not seeking, at any point will we likely seek any large investment to scale beyond the means of what is immediately accessible by founders. So
Mhm.
also part of that means we're pretty dependent on those who launch the agency to run the agency.
Mhm.
We optimize as far as like how we take money in. Oftentimes you can then reinvest that to scale teams and scale your business. We optimize for profit on an annual basis, meaning we're supporting our lifestyle more than we are growing the business. Our business is it's very healthy. It's very profitable. We love what we do, but it's just not something that I think we see ourselves growing to hundreds of people and having a large exit for.
So would you say you're like a boutique industry or a boutique business?
We were actually awarded Best Boutique Agency in LA not long ago. That is, boutique is probably the appropriate term. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. So that's super cool. And looking at, where you do want to go in the next 3 to 5 years, where do you see the company going?
Yeah, good question. I think it's really hard for me to give you any kind of accurate answer, so I won't pretend to. But what I will say is there's things to watch. One thing you're going to watch is AI generated ad content. As of a year ago, it was pretty bad, and I wasn't very concerned about it doing anything to the paid media ecosystem or landscape. Today, that's becoming less and less true, and every day that goes by, that becomes less and less true. And so the question then becomes, what does AI content on social look like? What does it look like to have AI creators, which Meta has already said that they're going to be very forward with. And I know TikTok has TikTok Symphony, which is a tool that we have access to, which also does something similar. Now, I don't think these are things that are going to affect the ecosystem, mid 2025. I think we're looking a little bit past that. But if you're asking me a 3 to 5 year perspective, those things are going to grow so fast. Consumption of those things are going to grow so fast. It's really hard for me to have any gauge. This is the Wild West. I mean, we've just, from the perspective of artificial intelligence, we've just invented the first telephone, and we are decades away from seeing the iPhone still, right? From that perspective. So I can't guess. I'm not innovative enough in terms of AI to give you a great perspective, other than to say that as we always have from the days of Vine till now and for the next 5 years, we'll remain nimble. And so as the industry changes, we'll change with it. And by an effective offering a service, that means we can get our technology off the shelf. So we don't actually have to worry too much about API changes or any kind of technological roadblocks because we can just work with the best partners in the space to provide the best data at any given time. And that also allows us to remain nimble in that regard.
Oh, that's very true. I like this word nimble, kind of like adaptability. How
Mhm.
important in businesses, like for businesses to succeed, how important is it to be nimble and be adaptable?
Well, if you're rigid, you break, right? If you say this is all we're going to do, this is all we're ever going to do. Now, there's a chance. I'm not saying it's an immediate failure. Obviously, there's a chance that you just had it right out of the gate. You knew exactly what the market needed. You knew you had product market fit. You launched immediately, and everything went perfect for you. I'm not saying that's impossible. It's just unlikely. What's more likely is as you build a business, you have iterations of that business. And each iteration is built upon receiving feedback from your key stakeholders, whether internally or externally. So looking at what are the people inside of our org experiencing, how do we create and optimize processes for them? What are customers saying about our product or service, and how can we take that internally and then, um, you know, and then build out against it? An interesting case of this, and this is just one way someone can remain nimble, is Oatly. I'm not sure if you saw Oatly had a big rebrand not too long ago, and there's a lot of folks in marketing who are making kind of a case study out of it on LinkedIn. I've seen probably the same post posted by 5 different people with small edits about how the rebrand increased their not only like how consumers see them, but also how the marketplace saw them. And all of a sudden they got a massive valuation and this and that. So what Oatly did was they understood that their packaging, the way they present themselves to customers, which can be really important, but also in the mind of an entrepreneur, a small thing you overlook at times. How they're presenting themselves to customers is what they changed. And they saw a massive, massive increase in valuation and market share as a result. That's one example. But as an entrepreneur, you have a million things you're doing at any given time, on any given day. And all of those things have a level of remaining agile or nimble that you have to employ if you're going to optimize your processes, optimize your systems, optimize your customer experience.
Oh, definitely. I'm curious to learn more about the Oatly rebrand as well.
I'll
So
send you a
that
link.
I'm definitely going to look that up. And kind of taking it into what you do for your marketing and how you put
Yeah.
yourself out there. How do you find, like, what is your most successful ways of marketing your company?
Relationships. So again, what we do is different than what most businesses do. Like if you're listening to this podcast now, it's somewhat unlikely that you also own an influencer marketing agency, which primarily targets Fortune 500 companies. Um, but for us, for what it's worth, there's a few things we do. One is, conferences, networking. I'm incredibly active. I fly all over the world, really, to shake hands with people that want to learn more about our industry. And if it makes sense to align with PopShorts, then we move forward from there. But really, where we drive majority of our business, and we do email marketing, we do cold outreach. All those things are facets of our outreach, but none of those things move the meter nearly as much as relationships do and referrals. So building out a referral ecosystem, wherein by which you're scoring your relationships. So we use Salesforce. We score our relationships. We say, hey, this person is a 5 out of 10. What can we do to strengthen a relationship with that person or that account? As you go up, you have different actions. Once you get to 10, hey, we have the best relationship possible with this client, this agency, this individual. The action point then becomes, can they introduce us to somebody else? If you have the best relationship possible with the customer, they love you. They want to work with you all day long. The best thing you can do is say, hey, if you love me so much, who else do you know that also might enjoy working with me for a similar product or service? That's
Mhm.
where a majority of our growth comes from, is just understanding relationship values and how to leverage them to drive more business.
Oh, definitely. Again, another golden nugget of this conversation is those relationships are so important, and that's now and only gonna expand as businesses grow and into the next few years as well.
Well, it's the most AI-proof thing you have is relationships with other humans.
100%. Yes. We're gonna need more and more of that. That's so true. This has been such a great conversation. We're getting so many great points. I want to touch a little bit on you and like your leadership style within the company and how you're seeing employees of the company grow. So, how would you describe your leadership style in the company?
Yeah, I'm a unique leader. And I don't just lead the company. For what it's worth, I do a few things outside of Pop Shorts as well that are worth noting. I've been the president of the American Advertising Federation based here in Austin for a few years. We have about 1,200 members, about 25 board members, helping run the entire advertising community of Austin. I'm also a mentor. I've had over 80 students come through an internship program I built, and I'll be teaching at the University of Texas come this fall. So when I think about leadership, to me, it doesn't just mean business leadership. As an individual, like you can lead many things, your local community, helping students, mentors, employees, colleagues, etc. So my style of leadership is potentially different than others might be. Um, I like to be thoughtful of who the person is and what they want to accomplish. Oftentimes you're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, right? Hey, this person really needs to fit X, Y, and Z, mentality, modalities, etc. If this person you're working with, maybe they're unhappy trying to do these systems you've built in place, they might be the wrong person for the job. And there's nothing wrong with that. What's right for them? Before you ever make a hire, before you bring someone in to build that team, aligning interests and not just hiring someone for the sake of hiring someone. And job seekers are very quick to say, oh, no, I would love this job because they need a job. So they're going to say that to every job that's offered to them. But really talking to them, understanding what do they want in 5 years? What's their dream job? And is this a peg? What's their dream in general? Is this a peg to help them get there? So I think, looking at those around you, who you're leading holistically, the entire environment is how you drive the most success out of them. And frankly, majority of my success is not my success. It's not things I physically went out and did. It's things I lifted people up to do, and the team benefited from as a whole. So I look at things holistically. I look at the whole picture in leadership and figure out how to get the most out of those. And sometimes that means directly speaking about one project. Sometimes it means something entirely outside of work and just who that person is and building them up to do the most so that the team can benefit.
Hmm, that's really powerful too. Again, this has been such a great conversation. And now I want to take it into our rapid fire questions where you answer four questions, very top of mind. Yes. Are you ready for some rapid fire?
Literally born ready. I just yap all day, so this is perfect for me. How fast do I have to go? Like really fast or slow?
As fast as you want to, probably like maybe like 30 seconds or less.
Okay. Good. It's good you put a timer on me because I just go. I'm a
All
wind up.
right. Question number one is, what is the key to success for you?
Confidence. I really believe in what I do. I believe in my ability to execute. And if I didn't, I wouldn't put myself in that position to be doing it in the first place.
Hmm. That's great. That's so true. Number two is, what is a piece of advice you have for other business owners?
You know, this is first of all, this is cliche. You have to love what you do. If you're going to be a business owner, you're going to be an entrepreneur, your business, your brand becomes part of your personal identity. If you're doing something you don't love or doing something you don't believe in, that's going to bleed into your entire company. So it starts with actually believing in what you do, and the path to success is so much more straightforward than if you're really trying to force something into the market and there's not, you talk about product market fit, there's also entrepreneur product fit. Like, does this make sense to align with what you're doing? So that's my advice.
100% believe that. Number three is, what is a piece of content you've recently taken in? It could be a book, a podcast, anything that spoke to you.
Yeah, so I've recently started reading more about venture capital. I'm interested in the space, and could see myself in a long-term perspective foray there from what I do now, just because I like working with entrepreneurs so much.
Mhm.
So I've been reading like Venture Deals, Secrets to Sand Hill Road, How to Raise Venture Capital. These are kind of the books that are in my ecosystem, and podcasts that I have playing right now.
Oh, that sounds great too. I might have to check out a couple of those books as well. Final question is, if you could wave a magic wand and overnight rapidly improve one aspect of your business, what would it be?
Revenue.
That was really fast. I actually kind of want to dive in a little deeper on that one. So can you kind of unpack that revenue?
Uh,
Yeah, what's going
well,
on?
there's no deeper meaning here. It's just I mean, what business doesn't want more revenue? So if I could just wave a magic wand and have unlimited success in one area of my business, it's going to be money in the bank, and that's a pretty simple entrepreneur rule right there.
Definitely. Well, this has been, again, a great conversation. Before we get to our final question of the day, how can people connect with you and your business online?
Yeah, I'm really easy to find. There's not a lot of Jake Hayes out there. So first of all, you Google me, you found me. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I have Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all these great things. If you want to talk influencer marketing, just send me a message on LinkedIn. You can also contact us through popshorts.com. Those messages get fed to me anyways, and I'll be the one to respond. Always happy to chat influencer marketing, and even if it's not influencer marketing, if you're in maybe earlier stage business, influencer marketing is not right for you, but you're not sure what kind of marketing is right for you. I'm just a resource for the community always. So I would say just give me a shout anyways, and I'd be happy to share my experiences and my advice.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jake. For our final question today, what is most inspiring to you today? And you can elaborate all you want in this one.
Most inspiring to me for today, or just
Mm,
you mean like in general?
In general, yeah.
Okay. Most inspiring to me, what am I inspired by? Oh gosh. You know what? I'm inspired by young entrepreneurs, to be honest. Like folks that come out of college and the world hasn't made them jaded. They have no horror stories of business yet. Those things are going to come. I'm not worried about that. But there's like a zest in their eyes. Like they have this like zest for life. They're excited by their ideas. They think legitimately that there is no ceiling and the world is their oyster, and I agree with them. I think that inspires me because when you keep that energy around you, you begin to feel it again too. And I'm not saying I'm some old grouchy entrepreneur who's done this for so long, et cetera, et cetera. But I am saying there's something about a young entrepreneur's hunger for success that really inspires me.
Oh, I love that. Yes, that was great. So, Jake, again, this has been such a fun conversation. Thank you for sharing your story today.
Thanks for having me.